An online petition to get justice for a female Nigerian soldier, Hannah Akinlabi, is gathering pace with thousands of people signing up. Akinlabi was detained for accepting a marriage proposal in a video that went viral on social media. In the video, she's seen accepting a ring from a member of the National Youth Service Corps orientation camp in Kwara State. The petition, #FreeSofiat, was started by human rights activist Omoyele Sowore, whom we're speaking to in just a moment. The activists are demanding freedom for the young lady. Sowore says that she must never suffer any harm for her act of love and passion. The female soldier remains in detention. A military source says, among others, she was detained for romancing in uniform publicly. She's also accused of indiscriminate behavior for doing other things aside from her purpose in a service corps camps. She is further accused of disobedience to ethics and tradition of the Nigerian army. All right, we're joined now by author of that petition and human rights activist Omoyele Sowore. He joins us from Abuja in Nigeria. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You know, one would say it's a bizarre story if it didn't sound so tragic.
Well, it's so bizarre considering that, you know, an act of proposal to a female or a male or whomever is involved, it's a surprise that ought to be applauded by everyone. But in this case, the male-dominated Nigerian army is punishing this particular lady for accepting a proposal of marriage, which in any way did not contravene any of the laws or rules as they claimed.
Has anything like this ever happened in Nigeria?
Well, a lot of male soldiers have proposed to females. Everywhere around, we have a collection of photographs and videos of this. And no one of them has ever been punished for engaging in that act. So it's such that it's so shocking that Sophia is being kept in detention. We heard that she's held in a male facility without access to her family, her fiancé, lawyers, doctors for the past week or so.
So let's just go back to some of the charges that they say she is guilty of, and just tell me your thoughts around that. Firstly, they say because she was at this camp for services other than what she was supposed to be doing, saying, in other words, suggesting she had a side hustle, what that hustle could be, one is not sure, but also talking about pretty much almost saying she's besmirching the uniform, the military uniform of the Nigerian state.
That's not true. She was at the youth corps service camp, where is a camp orientation for people who want to engage in national service, young people. And she's 24 years old. She's one of the instructors in camp. The day she was ambushed in this proposal, as you can see from the surprise on her face, they had already ended. So she was on the sidelines, and this guy came around with his friends and surprised her with a proposal. What the military claimed the law is that after 3 years, you cannot get married until you're 3 years in the armed forces, which is completely wrong. These are some of the pre-colonial era rules that says government, but you see, most importantly, how do you desecrate a uniform simply because you engage in a proposal from someone who did not inform you in advance? And except they're saying that marriage is a side hustle, most of the military officers themselves who are engaging in this got married to young hoppers like this in the camp. Some of the commanding officers do it. I went to camp in 1995, 1996. This is common knowledge. And they haven't been able to tell us. We even requested to see these rules. Nobody has been able to provide a copy of the code of conduct they shared, this claim she violated. So it's a man's word out here we're dealing with a very chauvinistic, patriarchal, misogynistic military force that has refused to change since it probably was established. So, yeah, it's so sad.
So there's a view by someone, I'm actually reading an article here where they're saying that the army's reaction was expected. While the army does not outlaw falling in love, according to the article, what it does outlaw is certain activity while in uniform. So where do you differentiate what is acceptable for army behavior while being human?
Listen, I have, in the petition we started, we have over 20, or maybe about 10 photographs, some of them videos. We actually made a video compilation of male soldiers making proposals, marriage proposals to people selling on the street, cell phone companies, shops, and all kinds of places. And no one of them has ever been punished for this. I strongly believe this is because she's female, and they just want to teach her a lesson that the army is not for women. It's for men. So men can get away with being murder, but you cannot do that if you're female. The Nigerian army is known for violating human rights. That's well known worldwide. And this is just an additional infraction on the rights of a member of the armed forces. They owe her a big apology, and we've asked them to release her with immediate effect so that she can join her family and her fiancé for Christmas.
And we'll talk about that in just a moment, where she is and what's happening. But I want to follow through on this train of thought of the patriarchy that exists within the army. And I know patriarchy is a global problem, but it's a very pervasive in Nigerian society. As I was talking about this article that I'm reading earlier on, Lawal Ogianabon is the author of it, and he is saying in the article that there is no army in the world that would tolerate this kind of behavior. I mean, I'd just like to hear your comment on that, and if there is cause for such sentiment.
You know, I lived in the U.S. for 20 years, and I know that the U.S. Army, I've seen a lot of things in the U.S. Army. Men getting married to men, proposing to men in the U.S. Army. Women getting proposed to at events, it's all over. It's a practice that's common to all, military and security forces around the world. It's not a crime to fall in love. It's not a crime to be emotional. In this particular case, she was caught unawares. A marriage proposal is not something you are aware of in advance. Somebody ambushes you on the right side, on the sideline, and say, hey, would you marry me? And you get carried away emotionally. They also accused her of violating their social media policy, which we disagree with, because she did not upload any of these pictures on social media herself. It was done by others who were watching. So I don't understand where that writer got the impression from that other soldiers, that is not tolerated for people in uniform to, I don't know if that person has access to Google. They would have saved themselves, saved him or herself, himself, that embarrassment. But let me tell you something. I was shocked, and this is where it's necessary. I was shocked at how many people still believe in this patriarchy, how many of even human rights activists, lawyers who support, the violation of this lady's right because she's female. And it had nothing to say when we provided photographs of men, Nigerian soldiers who have done the same. When I arrived in the US, I used to work with the Catholic Charities, and I met a lot of kids born by Nigerian soldiers who went to fight in Liberia and Sierra Leone. Some of them never even claimed the kids, and I'm sure they did those acts while in uniform.
And this is what I'm curious about. If we talk about the misogyny then that is behind this action of arresting her, we understand that she is being detained in a guard room that is mostly, or its sole purpose is for male soldiers. Are there then fears over her personal safety? Can you share a little bit more about what we know at this point?
This is exactly what I'm saying. The Nigerian army is so patriarchal, it's so misogynistic that they don't even have a guard room for females. That's the truth in that particular facility. They only have guard room for females at the national headquarters in Abuja. That's what we found out. And we're worried that she's unsafe because she's been denied access to the fiancé, she's been denied access to her family, lawyers, doctors. She's even been denied access, to the best of our knowledge, and this is what we heard from family and some soldiers who were given information, to sanitary materials while in detention. So I don't know what's going to happen to her, but I hope the whole world is watching, and they will help us put pressure on this outdated behavior of the Nigerian army, and let them understand that the world has moved on beyond the 1960 rules or whenever they put those rules together. But I don't even think there's a rule out there that prohibits someone from accepting a marriage proposal. None, I can tell you that, none. The rule they claim they have is the one that prohibits someone from getting married until after 3 years in the army. But a marriage proposal is not the same thing as marriage.
Do you think your petition would find an audience with the head of state, President Muhammadu Buhari?
President Muhammadu Buhari, unfortunately, used to be a former military general. His mindset is exactly what his subordinates are doing here. So I'm not sure, but I think if this petition goes way beyond their control, they'll do what is right. So we expect them to release her as soon as possible. And again, not only release her, she should be compensated and apologized to for the violation of not her fundamental right alone, but her dignity as a person, her right to freedom of association.
All right, thank you so much for speaking to us. Much appreciated. For bringing us up to speed, human rights activist Omoyele Sowore speaking to us from Abuja, Nigeria.